Welcome back, it's Smashboss here, and in this video I want to showcase the first part of the new troll level that I'm working on. So right at the start you can see this area right here where the level basically tells the player that he has to get this mushroom in order to break through this block. However, I guess most players will realize that this is completely unnecessary in Super Mario World, so they will think it's just a lame troll to try to get them to get the mushroom and not get the mushroom. However, here in this section, they now expect to get a power block when hitting the on-off switch. However, instead, a power block falls down on the track right here, so now they would actually need the mushroom in order to go back down and get the power block. So on their next attempt, they will get the mushroom, and then they will do the same thing as before. Get the power block this time and go up here. However, before they can reach the door, a muncher drops down and the level gives them the hint to not hit the on-off switch. The way that this muncher only drops down once you are up here is done by putting it on a platform right at the top of the level, because the way these platforms work is that they and the things that are on top of them only spawn in once the screen has scrolled close enough to them. So down here the muncher will never fall because the screen has not scrolled far enough. Only once you're up here the muncher will start falling. So what you actually have to do is what the level tells you. You don't have to hit the on-off switch. Instead you can damage boost up here. So now the power block is in this area and you can use it to clear this muncher. And after the door there are two checks. The first check is that you don't have a mushroom. You theoretically could cheese this first area by doing something like this. So you would hit the on-off switch right here and get the power block down there. And then you would use the power block to power jump up here and go in the door. However, in this case, first the switch state would be different, and second you would have a mushroom. So if there's any way to get in this area with a mushroom without changing the on-off state, you would have to lose the mushroom, because for the next section it is important that you don't have one. At the same time it is also important to not have the switch in the other state, because other trolls in the level also depend on the on-off state. And what the player doesn't realize, but those two checks actually make the player do something else that is important later, or basically make him not do that, because if you don't have to hit the on-off switch, then there's also no need to break this block, because the power block never drops down and you never have to go back in this area. And since it only wastes your time waiting for this block to become solid again and then hitting it, it seems like there's no reason to do that. However, as you can see in the editor right here, there's actually a launcher that is spawn blocked by this block, and that will be needed later. So just now what a player really has to do in this very first section to do everything completely right is to also hit this block before going up here. And there will be a hint for the player later that he has to do that. However, for now, most players will be in this area as Small Mario with the switch in the on state, but without this block being broken. So in this next section, the player has to find some way to get rid of this spike, and it seems like the only thing that he can do is to jump into this block. So most people will jump into the block directly because they think there's maybe a spike ball or something like that that will clear the path. However, instead what they have to do is to jump close to the block but not hit it, which will make a power block drop, and then they can hit it and activate the power block. And the way that this works is that there's basically a claw up here holding the power block, and that won't trigger if the player is down here. It will only trigger once the player is closer to this block, and then it will drop the power. However, this claw trolls the player more than once, because after the first troll, now the player might see this vine up here and try to jump to see what's there, which will activate a block which doesn't necessarily troll the player directly. However, when he jumps up here, suddenly a spring falls down, and now that this block is active, the player cannot get the spring anymore. And once again, this is done by using one of these platforms to spawn the items only once the player is at a certain height. So this one up here is used to put something in the claw so that a spring can fall down directly without getting stuck in the claw, because if it got stuck in the claw, the player would actually have to walk over here in order to see the spring falling down. Then it might confuse the player, so the spring should fall down directly, and that's why we need this one up to fill the claw. However, this one up is at the same time also used for another troll, because now that the one up will fall down once the player goes here, most players will just collect it without thinking about it. However, what they actually have to do is to tank the one up through the wall with Yoshi, to then use it on the other side to go in here and hit this note block. And now they can go up here, and at this point it is important that the section right here is designed in a way that you can basically only jump straight up and leave Yoshi directly above this area right here, or below I mean, because that's needed for a later troll. So now it seems like you need to find some way to get rid of this Spiny, and once again the only thing you can do is hit a block. And if you hit this, you quickly have to get out of the way, because otherwise you will get trapped in the area on the other side. And now this looks like a basic troll where, well, the skull platform is just gonna go up and put you into the spikes, so you jump around and see this C right here. However, you cannot see off of anything, so the only thing that you could do, since you still consider this right here a troll, is to hit this skull platform and see what happens. And after going on a long journey, the skull platform will appear right here and put Yoshi up here. So since you can only hit this platform from down here, and Yoshi is now up here, you might reconsider that this skull platform is a troll and just go up here, and then it basically does exactly what you thought the whole time that would happen. It just puts you up into the spikes. So instead of doing all of that, you just have to walk off this platform and it will land in this C track, so you can use it as a platform to go up here. And this is the point where you get the hint that you need to break the block at the very beginning, because now this switch right here is just for showcasing purposes. This will not be in the level, but the switch at this point will be in the off state. So if you go through this door, you just cannot progress. However, if this block at the very beginning is gone, then there's actually this launcher that would spawn and spit out bombs, and as you can see, this on off switch right here is also hittable from the top, so the bombs that will come out of this launcher will walk along here and hit this on off switch, and then the level does something which probably most people tell you is actually bad, because right after CP1 there's one intentional real softlock. However, I think having it right after CP1 is something that I recently saw in some other troll levels too, and it's basically not a bad idea, because what it actually does is, before you have any checkpoint, you basically have to start from the beginning anyway every time you die. So when you get a checkpoint, you finally feel safe to not having to do all the other stuff again. So if you get a soft lock right after CP1, it's basically like you get the feeling, yes, I finally have a checkpoint, and immediately this feeling is taken away again. However, I really only would recommend doing this right after CP1, because if you're right here, then there's basically no progress you made from the checkpoint so far. Now actually the launcher is able to spawn bombs. However, it spawns not only one, but two bombs. So the first one opens the path, but then if you wait in this area for too long, the second one will also explode, and then you're soft locked in this area. So now there's no way to spawn any more bombs on the other side, because the launcher is positioned at a place where it doesn't spit bombs to the other side anymore. And the boom booms drop in right in time to make it a lot more funny, and also to add the N64 music. So the way that this is achieved, that they only drop in once you're in this top area and not right here in the beginning, because there you're basically in the same area of the level, is by putting them on a track. So at the moment this track is put in this direction, that they will all land here and they will stay there forever. And at the very beginning, the time it takes to hit this on-off switch, even if you try to do it as fast as possible, is enough to make all 4 boom booms go into this area right here. However, once you're up here, the switch is in the other state, so they will all start going up here and travel along this path, and in the end they will just land here and start circling around this O of the no. So then you land in this section, which is the lower part of the other section from before, and what you can see right here is a block where it seems like if you hit it from above, whatever is inside will just fall right into the pit. So you hit it from up here, and basically the flying pattern of this winged Yoshi egg is perfectly so that it goes around this what seems like somewhat safe area for whatever is in here to land on. So it goes up here, goes around that, and then back on the block and jumps all the way into this area where you cannot get it anymore. So instead you actually have to hit the block from above, and that will put the Yoshi right here. So here you could take a POW, which is not really needed for this next section, so I just put a vine right here, so that you cannot put any items into the next section or bring them with you, because there's a block. And then there's one very disrespectful hidden block right here. If you try to jump over and get the 1-up, instead you will just land right into that spike. So now you're down here and you get a mushroom, and if you wait just the right amount of time, you will probably also see, oh, there's a fire flower too. So if you get the fire flower also, then in the next section you will get trolled, because you need to be small right here. So now here the player might think he can just get hit and fall through again. However, there is something blocking the player's path. So instead you want to only have the mushroom right here, so that you get hit in the saw and can walk through here. So in this section you get a Goombrat, and it looks like you immediately have to use it to hit the on-off switch and go up here. However, then you suddenly need something that melts these ice blocks. And here you get the hint that there's actually an on-off switch behind this saw blade, and you actually need the Goombrat right here. So considering that, what you actually have to do is of course to take this Goombrat, throw it into this on-off switch, then you still have the Goombrat, and now you can go up here and throw it into there, and if it hits that block it will release a Podoboo which will open this path. And right here is the first anti-softlock of the level if you go up here. So at the moment there is no need to go in here, so most players will not do it because it already looks like an anti-softlock. However, maybe some players will go up here and try to look what's over here, and that spawns a spring. And you cannot go out of this area anymore, so now you have to go into the anti-softlock. So instead you have to go down here and use the spring to get the Drybone shell. However, you need it as a shell, so you can put it on, which would in that case be good to dodge the next troll, but most players will already know they need it as a shell in order to break this block up here. So they will hold it. And that's the next troll, because there's yet another troll behind this launcher. There's a fish, so if you hold the Drybone shell into the launcher, it will just destroy the fish. And then there's once again no choice but to go into this anti-softlock area. So finally, the right way to do this section is of course to hold the shell in a different direction, or to entirely just go into the shell and not hold it at all. And then start holding it up here again. And once you go through this door, there's one final troll before CP2, and it looks like there's absolutely no way how there could be any difference going through the top or through the bottom path. However, if you go through the bottom path, suddenly an angry sun spawns and melts some ice blocks that will block the path to CP2 and instead put you in a small mini anti-softlock, which is not really difficult to dodge. You just have to basically run back and forth between the two launchers because they both spawn stars, and once the star runs out you can jump in here. However, when going the top path in this area, the angry sun spawns at a higher position and won't melt the ice blocks. So that's basically the part of the level that I already finished so far. So that's it for today, and I hope you enjoyed the video.